In various parts of China, hundreds of giant wind turbines cover the landscape. Here, natural beauty and modern technology coexist. China is the next big alternative power base. With a multitude of windy locations across the country, China is a great place to harvest the world's fastest growing energy source: wind. On the road to Zhangbei, you can see the plains of northern China stretch out for miles around you. Here, humid winds from the Pacific Ocean and dry winds from the interior meet, creating extreme weather conditions. Today, the temperature is minus 23.5 degrees Celsius, a relatively warm day considering temperatures can reach as low as minus 34 degrees Celsius.
零下34，现在有咱这山顶上估计得有零下23、4度的样子。昨天是叫蓝色预警，今天是有大风降温、长碎。
The turbines can spin up to 22 revolutions per minute. The speed limit is fixed. When the turbines reach the limit, they can't go any faster. Normally, they run at 10 to 22 revolutions per minute. But when the wind speed exceeds 25 meters per second, the wind turbines stop. Zhangbei is located in Hebei province. It is one of the country's key wind power bases. There are many wind farms like this one scattered throughout the region. By 2010, they will finish installing enough equipment to generate 3 million kilowatts of electricity a year. They're also planning to build up a combined wind power base capable of replacing 4 million conventional thermal power devices. This investment will save about 80 billion yuan worth of coal. That's 11.5 billion US dollars. China's wind energy industry is developing rapidly. All year round, countless wind turbines are installed throughout China. This winter, they will set up to 30 turbines in Zhangbei alone. It takes 2 to 3 days to set up one full turbine. Big cranes, heavy-duty trucks and manpower are mobilized to accomplish the task. But working at this time of the year is difficult. It can get so cold that the machines stop working. Then there's nothing to do but wait until the ice melts before the setup can continue. But the wind still blows whether the turbines are there or not.
然后1月份换完季以后，它能够稍微缓一下，然后从2月份开始一直到5月份是大风季节，然后等到6、7月份，气候转暖，风也小了，景色也好了，草也绿了，嘿。
The wind here is very strong. In fact, Zhangbei is known for its high-quality wind. Annual wind speeds range from 6 meters per second to 7 meters per second, an optimal speed for wind power generation. There are also a lot of areas in this region which can tap the wind's power. Zhangbei is one of the 6 major wind power bases capable of generating over 1 gigawatt of electricity. Wind power in China is booming. Although it currently accounts for only 1% of China's total power production, the industry is growing at a tremendously accelerated pace. Since 2005, wind power capacity has more than doubled each year. By 2020, China plans to have 30 gigawatts of installed wind power. Experts predict, however, that at its current rate of growth, that figure could skyrocket to 100 gigawatts. In context, that's enough energy to power at least 100 million households. There are many places where wind power can be harnessed. The Meteorological Administration conducts studies to calculate the wind power potential of each area. Currently, there are over 80 operational wind farms in China. These wind farms can be found scattered across the country. The most productive of these farms can be found in the windy north and southeast coastal regions. But why is wind power so important? The answer is global warming. Global warming is something that touches each and every one of us. It impacts our everyday lives, even if we don't realize it. But it's a particularly big concern for China. China is the biggest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world. Greenhouse gases are a leading factor in global warming. There's also the energy crunch. In modern society, we use a lot of energy and constantly need more of it. But where do we get this energy to light up our cities and drive our economies? Fossil fuel such as coal is one way. 70% of China's power comes from coal. Coal may be the cheapest source of energy, but it's also the dirtiest. Burning coal and oil produces large amounts of greenhouse gases and a lot of unwanted byproducts like smog. Alternative power sources are needed to provide cleaner and more environmentally friendly energy. Fortunately, with renewable energy, there's a way to simultaneously generate power and preserve the environment for future generations. In the next 10 to 15 years, China could be the #1 renewable energy country in the world. By the year 2020, China plans to have 16% of its power generated from renewable energy sources like water and the sun. But at the head of this development is wind power. Wind has been a source of power for centuries. It can be used either directly or indirectly through devices that convert wind into other forms of energy. Since 200 BC, China has used these devices to pump water, grind grain, and weave textiles. A simpler application is a child's pinwheel toy. The wind pushes against the plastic blades, causing them to turn. Wind power comes with many advantages and few disadvantages. It's renewable and clean, and no fuel is needed for continuing operation. But now we need a way to apply this basic principle to modern living. Today's windmills were designed to do just that. Wind power is harvested through wind turbines. There are 3 major segments in a wind turbine: the rotor, the nacelle, and the tower. The rotor portion consists mainly of the rotor blades. These blades have to be perfectly balanced and well-shaped in order to work. They convert the wind's kinetic energy, or energy of motion, into mechanical energy. The enclosed nacelle contains the drivetrain. The drivetrain encompasses all the rotating parts like the drive shafts, gearboxes, and built-in generator that convert the mechanical energy of the moving blades into electricity. The main function of the tower is to provide a tall, stable base for the turbine. Wind turbines need to be as tall as possible to take advantage of the stronger and more constant winds at higher altitudes. Commercial wind turbines are giant structures. Rotors can be as big as 100 meters long, with individual blades reaching 30 to 50 meters each, and the width of these blades can be as tall as a man. The towers are hollow to allow maintenance workers easy access to the top of the turbine. The sides of the tower have to be reinforced to withstand the tremendous weight of the rotor and nacelle. The average commercial turbine rises 60 to 90 meters high, and the nacelles that sit on top of them can weigh several tons. All the turbines at this wind farm capture wind energy and convert it to electricity. The electricity from the turbines is then channeled through a complex system of wires to the power station. Eventually, that electricity is placed on the grid for consumers to use in their homes and offices. Wind turbines may look simple on the outside, but inside they are complex and high-tech machines. Next up, research leads to bigger and better wind turbines, while large-scale wind farms power cities. Scenic Westlake in Hangzhou, China is well known for its natural beauty. But this city is more than just a pretty face. It's a very important city when it comes to Chinese wind power science and technology. The man in charge of the Wind Power Research and Development Department here is Professor Ye. Professor Ye is also one of China's main experts in wind power research. He's involved in many of the wind power projects across the nation. One of his biggest contributions is researching and developing China's first-generation large-scale wind power generation units.
当时呢，国际上有一款跟它差不多的机型，我们从论文上看到，国际上有一款跟它差不多的运行，但是那款机型就是在美国国家宇航局和美国桑迪亚实验室他们在开展的这项研究工作，但是从来没有听说后来这款机型就是被推广应用商品化了，没有。
Ye and his team were credited for the turbine's commercial development and awarded a prize for this groundbreaking accomplishment. R&D for the wind-driven generator includes several steps. These include creating a conceptual design, mathematical models, preliminary designs, and detailed designs before producing the actual product. The conceptual design is the prototype of the wind turbine. It includes the various design requirements and technical specifications. Next, a mathematical model is created on the computer to simulate real working conditions. This helps determine whether the design of the turbine is reasonable and if it can produce the desired effects. After the mathematical model tests are successful, the actual design process for the entire wind turbine begins. In this stage, the various internal parts of the turbine are created according to specification and strict operation standards. Among these parts is the all-important control platform. When all the designs are completed, the few thousand parts are virtually assembled on the computer to simulate the real-life operation of the wind turbine. The model is almost exactly like the actual product, with a degree of less than 10% difference between the two. This close simulation allows researchers to evaluate the coordination of the parts and determine how effectively they work together. Based on these results, researchers make adjustments and rework the designs to achieve the best outcome. The most important part of the wind turbine system is the control platform. The control platform is a software program that controls the turbine. Large-scale wind farms are all in remote and faraway locations, so the turbines need to run automatically. In order for the turbines to be automatic, the control plans must be tailored to deal with all sorts of possible obstacles, malfunctions, and problems. This is the most important aspect of Professor Ye's wind turbine technology. Professor Ye's team was one of the earliest to achieve a breakthrough in creating the control software.
你必须事先就估计到它在运行中出现的所有的状态，然后针对这些状态你是怎么处理的，对吧？我说这些状态可能是由于电网的原因引起的，可能是由于风况的原因引起的，也可能也是由于机组本身的原因引起的。
But it takes more than just high-level, in-depth theoretical research to design the control system. You also need a lot of experience in the various working conditions the turbines will face in operation.
那么你对电网的所有的这些参数要进行监控，对风况要进行监控，对机组所有的部件，特别是那些运动的部件包括齿轮箱、发电机液压系统等等，这些你要对它进行监控。那么一旦它出现故障，所以你就要做出相应的回应。
During the development process, researchers often spend long hours at the wind farms conducting surveys and experiments. They collect data and carry out research all year long. Even after the turbine has been designed, researchers still need to conduct and monitor numerous test operations. Every malfunction in the test turbine leads to an improvement in the control system. Only after several years of research and experimentation will a model of the wind turbine meet all the standards needed for mass production. Yunda Wind Electricity Company is one of the main factories in Zhejiang, Hangzhou, producing megawatt-level wind-driven generators. The factory supplies generators to all the wind farms in China. Today, one batch of 6 generators is being sent to Zhangbei Wind Farm. Yunda Wind Electricity Company mainly produces 2 types of generators, a 750 kilowatt model and a 1.5 megawatt model. They build the generators separately in different workshops at the factory. The parts are then fitted into the next cell. These main parts include the gearbox, the generator itself, and the overall control system. All the segments of the turbine are separately assembled and then combined and installed on a common base at the site. This base will need to support weights between 50 to 100 tons, depending on the different turbine specifications. The size of the turbines can also vary greatly, depending on their different specifications. Some turbines are so big they have enough room for 2 people to move around inside the nacelle. The height can be equivalent to the height of 2 people and the length similar to a sedan car. After debugging and stringent checks, the turbines are ready to leave the plant. They are then transported to the wind farms by various means. Together, tens and hundreds of these turbines will form large-scale wind power farms that supply electricity to cities via high-tension power lines. But does wind power also have a smaller application? Up next, wind energy gets personal and new technology takes wind power generation to a new level. In the world of renewable energy, wind power is blowing away the competition. Large-scale wind farms have the potential to power major cities. But what about people living in rural areas? Xinhua News reports that more than 70 million households in China lack access to electricity. Most of these people are living in areas unconnected to power grids. The widely dispersed nature of rural towns makes it difficult to supply grid-based power to these areas. Alternative solutions are needed to supply these people with electricity. And wind is a nice way to do it. Small-scale wind technologies can power individual homes and help small communities save electricity. They can also address some of the downsides to large-scale wind turbines. Large-scale wind turbines don't work in low wind conditions. They have heavy parts which take a lot of energy to get going. When the turbines are still, no electricity is produced. Scientists from ZK Energy Company in Hunan Province have worked out a solution to this problem. They've created the world's first full permanent magnetic levitation, or maglev, wind power generator. This generator uses magnetic levitation to replace conventional bearings in the wind turbine.
那么在地球上啊，就是任何转动的机械都是有摩擦的。那么为了消除这个摩擦呢，这个科技界公认的最理想的方法就是磁悬浮。
What is magnetic levitation? Magnetic levitation is the use of magnetic force to elevate without contact. Most of our machinery, including generators, revolve. The contact with the axle creates friction. With magnetic levitation, the turbine won't be affected by friction when it's revolving. The big advantage of this design is it can utilize winds with starting speeds as low as 1.5 meters per second. This could add 1,000 hours of operation annually to wind power plants in areas with an average wind speed of 3 meters per second. The key to this technology is increased efficiency. The rotating turbine shaft is supported by magnetic levitation instead of ball bearings. Because there's no physical contact between the parts, the turbine is almost frictionless. The useful energy lost due to friction is therefore greatly reduced. Magnetic bearings have been used for smaller turbines and pumps, but they generally can't handle impacts disturbing the shaft and require actively controlled electromagnets. The Chinese design uses precisely played permanent rare earth magnets to support the rotor shaft. These don't require electricity to work.
那么在中国呢，大概风力比较好的地区占到了国土面积的1/4左右。那么大概有1半以上的地方呢，是风力比较小的地区。那么为了把这一部分的风能资源利用起来呢，必须要在很小风的情况下能发电的这种机器才可以使用。
The maglev generator can fill the power void in these rural areas by harnessing low-speed wind resources that were previously untappable. Besides making use of very low wind speeds, these turbines are also budget-friendly. There's no need to set up costly electrical power networks, and there are no transmission costs or other massive expenses involved. Wind turbines with the maglev generator can also work independently. So even if there is a problem with one or some of the turbines, it doesn't affect the power supply of the entire area.
像今年的年初，在中国发生了一个非常大的一个冰灾，包括益阳市全市的电力都中断了。那么在这个情况下，这个系统因为它是不依靠电网来发电的，所以当时发挥了一个很大的作用。
With that in mind, ZK Energy recently started mass-producing their maglev generators. A practical application of the maglev wind turbine can be seen on the streets of Yiyang City in Hunan Province. Wind generated from passing vehicles is used to power the street lamps, a feat not possible before.
以前没有路灯的时候，基本上天黑，我们村民们就吃完饭以后就只能待在家里看看电视。出去的话，外面一片漆黑，什么都看不到。然后尤其是夏天那个有晚上的出来的话，一般都会担心蛇。我们村民出来的时候，一般都会带上手电筒啊，或者是那种其他的一些照明的一些工具啦。
Wind power is just one aspect of China's renewable energy mix. Solar power, hydropower, biomass power, and wave power are just some of the examples of other renewable energy sources that China is developing. In Beijing and rural areas, entire school buildings are being powered by renewable energy. As environmental issues threaten our global resources, renewable energy becomes even more significant. Wind power is a breath of fresh air that is energizing the country. Wind farms are powering major cities and changing rural communities, while new wind power technologies provide a competitive source of power for this energy-thirsty world. In various parts of China, hundreds of giant wind turbines cover the landscape. Here, natural beauty and modern technology coexist. China is the next big alternative power base. With a multitude of windy locations across the country, China is a great place to harvest the world's fastest growing energy source: wind. On the road to Zhangbei, you can see the plains of northern China stretch out for miles around you. Here, humid winds from the Pacific Ocean and dry winds from the interior meet, creating extreme weather conditions. Today, the temperature is